afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Annette Wright. I'm Assistant Dean of Students, Director of Student Government Affairs. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2015-2016 Student Election Debates. We feel that the debates are really important as it gives students an opportunity to meet the candidates running for these positions. It's your opportunity to learn more about them, their platforms, their hopes for UIC. We also will provide an opportunity for you to ask them questions at the end. This afternoon, we have two or three candidates with us. So I'm going to allow them to each introduce themselves briefly. First, we're going to start with Ms. Mercedes Jones.
Hi, I'm Mercedes Jones. I am currently the University Relations Committee Director for the Undergraduate Student Government. I am a junior here at UIC studying economics with a minor in math and finance. I also work in the Commuter Student Resource Center helping commuter students with their experience and their safety on campus.
And today we also have with us Mr. Ryan Chu.
Hi, my name is Ryan Chu. I'm a freshman here at UIC, currently aiming for a double degree in biology and political science. I'm a member of the Honors College and the GBPA Medicine program. I serve as the chairman of the Academic and Advising Policy Committee, and I'm also a startup business owner.
Okay, how this event will work today is that each candidate will be given an opportunity to ask a question. To answer a question. They will have 2 minutes to respond. Their opponent has 1 minute to rebut. So hopefully you will find that this will be an interesting and engaging event, and so we shall begin. First question goes to Mr. Chu. What do you feel you would bring to the USG position, president position?
I feel like I would bring a new air of drive, ambition, and hope for change that the university needs. You know, people like to say that I'm young. I'm only 19 years old and a freshman, and I get that. But what I lack in age, I bring in the drive and ambition and the will to have everybody move and work together to create change that we need in this campus and bring about a new campus that's more affordable, more accessible, more transparent for all students, regardless of who you are or where you come from.
Ms. Jones, an opportunity to rebut.
While I think that Mr. Chu is a very good candidate in all the work that I've seen him do, I feel like there is somewhat of a lack of experience by being a freshman, and I feel that more time on undergraduate student government would better prepare him in the future to be president.
Thank you. Okay, question now goes to Ms. Jones. What do you feel you would bring to the USG president position?
Well, as the current University Relations Director, I feel that I already have started many initiatives here and built relations with administration in order to complete those initiatives, such as textbook affordability, campus safety and experience, affordable education for all, lobby day, and I think that being president would allow me to take all those initiatives to the next step and give me the opportunity to work with more levels of administration and break down those barriers that I see already there.
Thank you. Mr. Chu.
Well, I think although it is very nice that Ms. Jones has reached out to faculty, staff, and administration here, I've also taken a step to reach out to the students, because that's where we are in the end. We're the ones paying tuition, we're the ones paying taxes to fund this school. And that's why throughout the past few weeks, I've been reaching out to student organizations, multicultural fraternities and sororities, and other organizations to make sure that students' voices are heard on this campus, and that we do things here, not for faculty and staff, but for the students that come here, pay taxes, and pay $1,000 each semester in their tuition money.
Thank you. Next question goes to Ms. Jones. What do you hope to accomplish if elected?
I hope to expound upon the initiatives I've already started this past year and create new ones. So my biggest initiative is about commuter students working in the Commuter Student Resource Center and being a commuter assistant. I see the struggles that students face every single day. I see that this campus is not always the most safe, that it's not always the most welcoming to commuter students. I want to make it a more welcoming campus, engage students, work with student organizations to promote them, and have students more aware of these resources that are available to them, along with increased safety by working with the Department of Transportation, campus police, and administration in general to increase the range of red cars, change up the commuter bus shuttles, the routes, the times, so that students have a better experience overall.
Thank you. Mr. Chu.
I want to create a campus that keeps costs down. Okay.
If you want, you can not to.
I'll just opt to say what I think I should.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Timer issues, hold on.
create a university system here at UIC that keeps costs down and opportunity up. You know, every year our tuition rates increase annually, and they go up every single year. And I've seen a lot of students have to take out increased grants, student loans, and often have to work part-time jobs just to make ends meet. And I know that because I've been one of those students. And you know, if students are expected to pay $1,000 out of their pocket every single semester for this education here, then we've got to make sure that we create a first-class institution with first-class opportunities and first-class accessibility here on campus. And that's what I plan to do.
Ms. Jones.
I think that that's all a very good idea, and I think each of those ideas are good, but I think a lot of what you forget about would be lobby day, MAP grants, Pell grants. How do you plan to increase those? And so that students who, even though tuition keeps going up for whatever reason that may be, if MAP and Pell would match that, students would face a lot less trouble, and working towards that like I do in the URC committee would be very helpful as well.
Question now goes to Mr. Chu first. What do you feel USG's challenges are, and how would you address them?
I think, as I said before, previous policies have allowed USG to expand and talk to faculty and staff, but I think the critical part of what's missing here is appealing to the student body itself. You know, I'm part of a candidate platform that puts students first. That means we've got to be more accountable to the students. We've got to take student input, and we've got to make sure that the people who are paying for their education reap the benefits, and not people at the administration level.
Ms. Jones, have an opportunity to rebut.
I think that as being a member of USG for over a year, we have reached out to many students, student organizations. I know many students through the Treasury Committee, through the URC Committee, through just going out and talking to students. And I think that that's taken upon each member of Undergraduate Student Government themselves and doing the service hours or the kiosks like we have already established within the government.
Question now goes to Ms. Jones. What do you feel USG's challenges are, and how would you address them?
I think USG faces a couple challenges. One is barriers between administration, being able to get to the higher levels of administration and really sit down and talk to them about the issues, and also being able to effectively allow our initiatives to grow and expound upon them, as opposed to halting the initiatives and just leaving them where they be and not going back and making sure that they were followed through the entire way.
Now rebut goes to Mr. Chu.
Yeah, again, I think Ms. Jones points out very good ideas, but I think she overemphasizes the fact that USG is responsible to faculty and staff here rather than focusing on issues that impact students. You know, I fully support working with faculty, staff, and administration. That's why I need to see, I want to see a system that incorporates students' ideas and students' needs, and that way we can work together with faculty, staff, and administration to make sure that students' needs are fulfilled. That is why part of my plan is actually, one of my plans is actually decreasing the foreign language requirements here, so that students aren't burdened with requirements that prevent them from pursuing their degree of choice in the amount of time they want to pursue it. That's why I support a system that puts students' needs first, and then we can work with faculty and staff.
Okay. Next question to Mr. Chu. You talk about engaging the undergraduate student population here at UIC. How would you go about doing so?
I think a big part of what's being left out in the past is we need to champion the diversity and multiculturalism on campus. That's why the past few weeks I've reached out to multicultural organizations such as the Lambda Beta Fraternity, Filipinos in Alliance, and the Vietnamese Student Association.
Rebut to Ms. Jones.
I think that you have done that in the past recent weeks in reaching out to all those organizations, but I don't think that helps student government as a whole. I think that there needs to be a whole setup regarding how USG reaches out, and I think that that's kind of what you're forgetting there.
Question now goes to Ms. Jones. How would you go about engaging the undergraduate student population?
I would set that system up in the undergraduate student government. I know currently we do have a system of service hours in our government where we have to go out for at least 6 hours throughout a month and talk to students and get their opinions and hear their concerns, and then come back to the student government and voice them. And I think that we can either continue that part of our tradition or even change it up to where maybe it's 6 hours during the service hours and you have to meet with one student organization a month to hear their concerns from different perspectives.
Thank you. Rebut to Mr. Chu.
I would like to actually challenge the point that I actually made earlier that reaching out to all these organizations isn't essential part of our university system is multiculturalism and diversity on our campus. And to say that undergraduate student government is not fruitful in reaching out to these student organizations is just ignorant.
Great. Next question. You both have identified several issues that you think, several issues on your platform that you feel affect UIC students. Can you pick your top three challenges and elaborate on them?
Right.
To Ms. Jones.
My top three are commuter safety experience, textbook affordability, and affordable education for all. So I talked a little about the commuter safety and experience before with the increased range of red car, increased commuter bus shuttles. Experience would obviously just be having more student organizations, more socials, more involvement there so students are aware of what resources are available to them. Textbook affordability, I've already started working with the library about having or expanding their renter's library and reaching out to students so that we know what books they need so that we can reduce the amount of books they have to buy and they can just go to the library and check them out and scan the pages that they need. And lastly is affordable education for all. So working with Fearless Undocumented Alliance, Flores, to work with them on promoting the Acevedo bill, which allows students, undocumented students, to pay in-state tuition and be eligible for scholarships and grants, and also increasing math and Pell Grants and stop funding cuts by going to Springfield. I work with the Student Alumni Association. I recently did a letter writing campaign where we got over 350 letters written down to Springfield so that legislators can read all the concerns that students have.
Thank you. Rebuttal to Mr. Chu.
I think it's a good idea that you are trying to lobby for more math and Pell Grants to the students here, and I fully support that. But we've been going to Lobby Day every single year, and just getting students to Lobby Day is just the same old solution that we've gotten every single year. So I would like to see Ms. Jones articulate on what more she could do to bring back math and Pell Grants, other than doing what we've done the past few years, which is continually sending students to Springfield, which I think is a necessary aspect, but I want to see innovative and new solutions to bring that to campus other than doing the same things over and over again.
Question now goes to Mr. Chu. What do you see are the three greatest challenges facing UIC, and can you elaborate upon them?
Right. I support creating a system that champions affordability, accessibility, and transparency. Affordability, we've got to make sure we get more affordable textbooks. Students on average pay $1,000 a year on textbooks. We've got to make sure not only do we expand the renter's library that we currently have, we also push to offer open textbook options and ebooks, because that way we can create a more sustainable campus as well by not cutting down more trees, and also because ebooks are cheaper. Secondly, I want to increase and improve the Wi-Fi using my technical expertise. Students here, we've suffered with the Wi-Fi this past year. I think every student knows that. And part of accessibility is allowing students to access a Wi-Fi that lives up to their expectations, because they're already paying hundreds of dollars each semester for this Wi-Fi service. We've got to make sure that's up to par. Transparency, we've got to make sure that we encourage the administration. Let's sit down with the administration to publish the expenditures that they have, because we as students have the right to know where our money goes. If the previous chancellor can resign and still leave with a $100,000 bonus, then we should be concerned as taxpayers and tuition payers. And affordability, accessibility, transparency, those are essentially the three things that I want to attack as your next student government president.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I think those are all very good points. In regards to the open textbook sourcing, there's a lot of problems with that coming from IBHE, and that's very, very hard to get, and I don't think that's the best solution as of right now. In regards to transparency, I think there is a lot of transparency with regards to mass mails going out. Whether or not students read them is a whole other issue, and maybe working with the faculty to find a better way to reach out to students would be more important, as opposed to just saying that they don't, because you can look at their expenditures, you can get meetings with them, and so saying that it's not transparent isn't entirely true.
Question now to Mr. Chu. You both have similar platforms, but can you tell us a little bit how does your platform differ from your opponents?
Right. So our platform, Christian Munoz and I, our platform is called Students First. That means the difference between my opponent's platform and my platform is the fact that I want to put students first. I want to put students' needs ahead of faculty administration needs.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I do not want to put faculty's needs ahead of students' needs. I feel that students are very important. They're all that I care about. It's the reason why I joined student government. I think that working with faculty and administration is the way to get students' needs met and and that you can't do it without the help of faculty administration, so they're a very important aspect of promoting students' needs, wants, and whatever they feel they want.
Question now goes to Ms. Jones.
I think my platform differs in some ways because I'm more open to working with faculty and administration, and although that students are not always the top level of the platform, they are always the basis behind everything I put on my platform. Textbook affordability, campus safety, campus experience, that's all in making UIC a better institution for the students to be at. And I think that it's so important to work with the faculty because nothing really gets done unless you have the faculty's help and support, and I have worked tirelessly to do that already.
Thank you. Rebuttal to Mr. Chu.
Yeah, I've never said that I wouldn't work with faculty administration. It's simply not true. I do agree that we have to work with faculty administration to get students' needs across. But I think what you've mentioned more so than I is, having USG form this be responsible to faculty administration rather than putting students first. So in essence, I do agree that we need to work with faculty and staff. But we've got to make sure that the needs that we're addressing are students' needs.
My final question. If elected, what would you hope to accomplish in the first 30 days? Question to Mr. Chu.
Well, I hope to start working with faculty administration because, like I said, I think that is a good idea. But also, we've got to start asking students. I want to make sure that we send out surveys to students on what they feel are the biggest issues on our campus. Because, like I said before, I want to put students first. That means the first step is sending out surveys to students, encouraging students to take those surveys because the first step to addressing student reform is having student input. And that's what I'll do in the first 30 days of my office.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I think that's a very good idea. However, I think surveys are not the most effective way to determine what students need because students so often delete our mass mails, they walk past our booths, and I think there needs to be a better form of outreach towards the students if you want to find their problems.
Question to you.
My first goal that I would hope to accomplish is to establish relationships with faculty and staff on all levels and then work with them to see in what ways they can help me with my platform, what ways that the library can help me with my textbook affordability platform, the ways that the administration and the police department and the Department of Transportation can help me with increasing the range of red car, the commuter bus shuttles, and in what ways that, be it Fearless Adopt and working with student organizations to see in what ways they can help me with lobby day, affordable education, what they need.
Now I'd like to open it up to the audience. You have an opportunity to ask questions of anything you've heard or anything that you have not heard. So, Dean Smith, we're walking around with you with the mic.
Thank you. It was a good debate. My name is Brian Geiger. My question is, okay. My question is regarding your working with trying to get students tuition affordable. I don't know if you all are familiar with Bruce Rauner's budget and how he's slashing education and that budget. How are you all going to make sure that students here are not affected as harshly as other students would through his budget?
Question to Ms. Jones.
Well, first of all, Bruce Rauner is slashing it by 31.5%. For those of you who don't know, that's the entire state budget that's being cut. He is keeping math level, which is a good thing for us. So I think that when we go down there, we can lobby to see if we can get increases in math funding or develop a 5-year strategic plan with legislators and first in student government, develop how we think it should be done. DePaul has done the same thing and working with them and seeing if we can then send that resolution and those kinds of things to the legislators, especially if we take it down to lobby day and say this is what we want to see over the next few years to help students with their tuition.
I think it's good that Ms. Jones wants to bring more math grants by, like I said before, I want to hear about specifics on how she plans to do that. Because I agree, more math Pell grants would be great. But we send kids to Lobby Day every single year. So I want to hear what we can do differently this year to bring more math and Pell grants. No, I'm asking the question. So I think a big part of it is we have to make students aware that this is happening. because as students, one of the things that affects college students all across the nation is a sort of apathy of what's going on in the political field. So I definitely do not support Bruce Renner's cut. And I think that what we need to do is, I think the university is being affected as well, because now, because of their decreased funding that they get from the state, they need to make cuts in some programs. And we've got to make sure that we survey the students, ask for students' input on what they feel like are the most important points, and what programs they would like to see as the most important programs, so that we fight to make sure that those students, those programs are being kept, that the programs that the students feel are the most important programs are preserved, and those programs do not get cut. So I propose essentially, one, letting students know that this is happening, and two, surveying students to make sure that we keep the programs that affect most students intact.
Rebuttal to Mrs. Jones.
I think that's a very good idea, but I think it'll be difficult to just ask students what they want to be cut or what they don't want to be cut or what they feel is most important and then say, okay, so we're going to cut the other thing that you don't feel is important. I feel like you're going to get a lot of mixed results, and that's going to be not the best way to go about it. You're going to have to look at the overall, how tuition is, where the money is even coming from in the university, what provides the most money, how that money is going to help the university. And I don't think that just asking students what they feel is most important is going to really help us decide what needs to be cut or what has to be cut in order to be able to fit in with Bruce Renner's new ideology.
I saw one other hand. Question now goes to Mr. Chu first.
Hi guys, you guys did a great job. My question is that both your positions aren't just 30 days, they're year long. And so I kind of, if you guys could take the time to express what goals you guys would have for your year-long positions. 30 days is just a little too fast for me. I would like to know what they'd like to accomplish within the year.
Okay, so what I like to accomplish during the year is, like I said before, one, encouraging more affordable textbook options. Two, preparing the UIC Wi-Fi to make sure that's up to par, because that's something we can definitely fix in under 1 year. And if we take more than 1 year to fix that, I don't know, I don't know what we can do. Three, we got to make sure we cut unnecessary general education and foreign language requirements. We got to have a conversation with faculty, administration, and staff to find ways we can work together to make sure that students aren't burdened with the next year more general education requirements that prevent them from pursuing their degree in the amount of time they want to pursue.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I would disagree with cutting the general education requirements. I think as much as I hate taking Chinese, as much as the next person, I think that makes you more well-rounded students. It's not just the language that you're learning in the class, you're learning the culture. I know that I learned all about the Chinese culture, New Year's, the spring festivals, the fall festivals. And removing that from somebody's education as a requirement can remove part of the things that they're supposed to be learning here, especially at a liberal arts college and a liberal arts degree, because that's where most of the foreign language requirements come in. And I think that if you attempt to remove that, you are taking away that aspect of somebody's education here, and I don't think that's fair.
Question now goes to Ms. Jones.
I think over the entire year, I would like to see the Renters Library expanded to include all of the book, or a vast majority of the general education books that students are using, so math, sciences, especially the expensive textbooks that students are going to have a lot of difficulty affording. I would like to see campus safety increases. I would like to see the range of red card be increased. I would like to see the commuter bus shuttles not only go north towards Ogilvy and Union, but I'd like to see them go south, because I know I get on that 8 every day, and the 8 coming from the Halstead Orange line is packed, and so many students come from there, and we've had concerns from students who say we can't all fit on the bus and we have to wait for 2 or 3 buses to come by. Those are 2 really big things I'd like to see. I'd also like to see a strategic plan developed by student government to how they want to present it towards legislators of how to increase MAP and Pell Grants, and that way we can take that down to Springfield, which would be a way that we change it. Normally we just go down there and we say, hey, don't cut our funding. No, let's go down there and say, hey, don't cut our funding, and here's a way that we think you can increase it. Here's a way we think you can improve it.
Thank you. Question to Mr. Chu.
Yeah.
Rebuttal to Mr. Chu.
Yeah, so I feel like I would use this time to rebut. Can I rebut? So I want to go back to the point she made in her rebuttal to my remarks, saying that by decreasing general education requirements, we are not giving students opportunities to learn about the different cultures and diversity of the world. I completely disagree with that. If students want to learn about the multiculturalism and diversity of the world, they can. I'm just saying, by having general education requirements, we are forcing students to learn about things that may not necessarily align with their major. And going back to the point that you mentioned that we have to understand world cultures, we have a general education category here called understanding world cultures. So saying that cutting foreign language requirements, other general requirements, doesn't do that justice is, I don't really agree with that statement.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Wait, I have David. Yeah, here.
Thanks guys for being here. Just wondering, so you're saying that surveys are an effective way of hearing the concerns of students. I want to know exactly, I want to know exactly if that's what you believe, and you were saying something different. I want to know exactly how you're going to hear the concerns, the voice of the students, exactly how. You're talking about talking with faculty and administration, but I just want to know exactly how you're going to, because the average student is not going to be involved on campus. The average Joe is not going to know anything about USG or other words if they're just coming here to do school, but that doesn't mean that they don't have problems such as tuition and books, you know. So exactly how are you going to hear those concerns from students like that are not involved?
Question first goes to Mr. Chu.
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question that you brought up. I think surveys are not the best method, but they're certainly a method we can use. I know there are issues with students deleting every mass mail that they get, and I understand that. I think surveys are one method, but I think the most effective method is using social media, publicizing this on Facebook, because as college students, we are very active on social media. So we need to use that media to our advantage when we're surveying students. And I don't think email surveys are the most effective, but I do think that we use that as a tool, along with other methods, to make sure that students' voices and student ideas are heard on this campus.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I do think social media is an effective way. I don't think it's the most effective way. I know that currently student government has a Facebook, a Instagram, and a Twitter, and I don't think that reaches the amount of people it should be reaching. I don't know if that's lack of promoting, if that is lack of just students saying, hey, I like enough stuff on Facebook, I don't need to like this one too. But I think there are better ways to go about it.
Question now is to Ms. Jones.
Which will answer my question. I think that those are all one-way surveys, social media, but I think the biggest thing is, one, we used to have a kiosk and maybe bringing that back for students. We have a nice booth around campus at different times, so we reach different students. Also, just walking around and talking to students, like almost like activists do. I know we all try to avoid those activists on the street, but stopping them and saying, hey, I'm part of student government. You have a forum, be like, hey, what's your concern? Tell me your biggest problem here, and we can write it down, we can take it back, and we can say, here, this is what we found out. And I think those are the two best ways, and even reaching out to student organizations saying, hey, can I come to your general body meeting? Hey, do you want to come to our general body meeting? Let us know what you're facing.
Okay, rebuttal to Mr. Chu.
I definitely think that is one way we can do that. I disagree with the fact that that is one of the most effective ways to do that, because we've seen tons of people with clipboards in the quad and throughout SCE approaching you saying, help stop violence, or do you have a moment with gay rights? Although I think that's a good way to do it, I don't think that's the best approach, because when people hand flyers, you see them. The next second you see them in the trash. So I think that's one way we can definitely do it, and I think we can use also social media and surveys to do that, and I think that with all those means put together, we can create a system that definitely adequately surveys the needs of the students.
Okay, I know I saw a hand in the back. Okay, 1, 2.
Hi, so I apologize if you mentioned this question already, I just got here from class. But so I'm part of a fraternity, including a couple other student organizations, and I was just wondering how you are going to plan on helping them out, whether it's socially or financially, because countless other times I see like an organization, like great organization, great ideas and everything, but they just started up and stuff like that, and they only have like 4 or 5 general body members, and it's hard for them to sustain. So I was just wondering how you could help them, whether socially or financially, to help them get off the ground a little bit, and not just be one of the many organizations we have here on campus, and maybe transition this campus to be a little bit from like a commuter campus to students wanting to get involved a little bit more because they know what's going on.
Okay, question first, Ms. Jones.
We do like to reach out to student organizations, especially fraternities, sororities. I think one of the ways that we can help you guys, especially since you're saying financially, student government does have a fund to help fund student organizations. You submit a proposal to us, and we reviewed it, and as an assembly we passed a certain amount that we can fund you guys. And if you guys are a startup organization, there are things that you want to do, leadership conferences you want to go to really build your organization and your network. We're always here to help you financially plan that, and we even want to host a business proposal workshop at some point, so you guys learn a little bit more about having an organization, being able to host things, learn how to write proposals, how to write letters and things like that, and I think that's how we can help you out.
Rebuttal to Mr. Chair.
I think those are all very good ideas, but we want to see, I think what is necessary is bringing more funding that currently exists. And I'd like to elaborate more on that in my
You can do so.
Okay, so one of my pledges is to make undergraduate student government a champion for our student organizations. So my pledge is to dedicate, so every year the president gets a discretionary spending budget, and I would like to see 80% of my discretionary budget go toward more funding for student organizations, because although we do have a student government fund currently set up, and you guys can apply for that, I want to make sure there's more money put into this fund, and I'd be willing to put forth some of my discretionary budget to make that a reality for our student organizations such as yours, because I know you guys have conferences for your fraternity that you go to every year, and I want to make sure that that's possible for everyone, especially when they have financial hardships paying for these.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I think that is a okay idea. I would say that your discretionary, however, is used for certain things that you're not accounting for, such as USG related events. It doesn't all just come from the general budget, and you have to take that into account before saying that you can allocate that money somewhere. However, it is a good idea. I could see it potentially happening, and I know that we do have a $10,000 student organization funding per semester. So if that needs to be increased, we can take a look at it as a whole as the assembly, as opposed to just taking part of your discretionary. We can take unallocated funds and maybe increase how much we give to student organizations.
There's a question.
There's a lot of talk about tuition rates increasing and trying to freeze those, and as well as the general education. How is it kind of possible in such a short span of 1 year to go ahead and either lower or freeze tuition rates and make modifications to general requirements based on the likelihood that you would have to run again and win again to extend those?
Question to Mr. Chu.
Yeah, so as you may have seen on the website, there's the guaranteed tuition that's set for each succeeding class of students. So that's like a maximum amount that you would pay for tuition out of your pocket. So although in a span of 1 year, we may not necessarily be able to completely freeze tuition, we can make sure that the other costs of education are accounted for, and those are decreased. So like I said before, we want to move more affordable textbook options. So that's definitely one of the things that I'm trying to push. Because if we can decrease the other costs of education, then we can make the overall cost of attending UIC more affordable for all students.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I think it would be very hard to freeze and decrease tuition over a span of 1 year. It is possible, and he is right, there is a certain set rate that each incoming class has, and it stays for the next 4 years. I think the way that you have to do it, can I just continue with somebody? Yeah. I think the way you would have to do it is one, working with faculty administration, working with whoever runs their budget and seeing where their money is allocated towards, and then looking at what fees are being accounted for, if there was a way to decrease the student fees. I know that right now we recommended that student fees only be increased by about $8 for the next year. And so if we can continue that kind of a trend, we can see that the following years are not being increased as much or even staying at the same rate, and then working with faculty and administration and seeing what they can do from their end to decrease rates, decrease what we're paying for the fees.
Rebuttal to Mr. Chair.
I think those are all very good ideas, and I would actually say that although we can't, lower, it's not very feasible to lower the tuition rates for our class and for the classes of students that are here, we can make sure that the rates don't increase as much for succeeding classes of students, and that way, people are more inclined to come to UIC in the future rather than facing a wave of increasing tuition fees.
Okay. Any question for you?
Hey, how you doing? My name is Sydney Hinton, and I'm with the Black Student Community Resource Sharing Network. And I'm just looking at this room, and it doesn't overall reflect the diversity of UIC. And I also had a brother here who went here and graduated and didn't get the most out of his education. And I'm listening to your concerns, and you said, we may not be able to cut the cost of tuition, but how will you be able to collaborate and do different types of outreach with different programs that are centered towards Black students and Latino students so that they get the most out of their education, even if they're paying a lot of money. I don't see a lot of Black or Latino students even in this room. So what types of programs would you do? What types of outreach would you do with different maybe administrators? Like, do you know of any programs that are already happening that will encourage Black student success and participation?
Question to Ms. Jones.
I can't say that I know of any currently that already do it. I think one of the things that we can do as student government is promote that all student organizations come together, like a student org social or something where all these student organizations can reach out to each other and find each other and invite those students. More of like an involvement fair, but just for the student organizations that may be geared towards minority students and have different days that we can do. So if one's geared towards minority students, one's geared towards majors, things like that over a week-long period, that could be something we could look into, and even partnering with LARES, Black Student Union, AAAN, all of those. I think, yes, there is a sometimes lack of diversity, especially I'm seeing it in this room as well, you're very right. And I think that student government in general just needs to increase our outreach. Like I said, maybe going around talking to students, reaching out to, going on WorkSync, finding the student organization emails, sending out emails saying, hey, why don't you come to one of our meetings? Or, hey, can we, when's your meeting, let one of our representatives drop by and see what we can do for you.
Rebuttal to Mr. Chu.
So I think that having a multicultural social, that idea would be a pretty good idea, but I also want to add some of my own, and I'll actually continue on to my time here. So part of what we can do to increase multiculturalism and diversity on campus and champion diversity as a strength rather than weakness is to make sure that all students in all ethnic backgrounds have the same opportunities and access to the same resources. That's why I support for all of our minority students, if you're an undocumented immigrant, you should have the same access to the same opportunities and scholarships and grants that everybody else has. And secondly, as I said before, I want to dedicate more funding toward our cultural organizations. A person who asked the question before mentioned that he was in an Asian interest fraternity, and I want to see more support given to these cultural organizations so we can make sure that these organizations that champion diversity and multiculturalism are funded so that they have a better campus presence at our school.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
I think to the beginning of your statement, you need to go above and beyond just saying, hey, I support that undocumented students have, or minority students have the same access to affordable education. That's part of what Going to Lobby Day is about. Not just the MAP and Pell Grants that I was talking about, but also about the Acevedo Bill, which allows undocumented students access to scholarships, grants, and in-state tuition. And I think knowing about those bills and being able to go down there and support those and making that a part of our all-inclusive Lobby Day, which is just not just MAP, not just Pell, but affordable education for all, is probably the most important thing that we can do.
Okay, are there any final questions? This is the last question for closing statements.
I'm a graduate student, but I obviously care very much about our undergraduate students. And so I really appreciate everything that you guys have talked about. But one of my biggest concerns is this idea of experience, a freshman and a junior. And so I just wanted to know if you guys could elaborate some more on how you guys yourself are being champions of diversity and being collaborative and being visible on this campus. And if you can kind of at least talk about some more, ways that you have done that or at least plan to do that.
Question to Mr. Chu.
Yeah, so although I am just a freshman, I want to basically elaborate on what I've done so far. So I was one of the founding members of MedLife UIC, which is a first-year organization on this campus. And we bring together students who are pre-health from all different ethnicities and backgrounds together. And this year we're actually sending 35 students to Ecuador on a medical mission trip to help underprivileged children in those communities. So that's one way I've brought people from different backgrounds together. I've also been a very active participant in the Asian American Resource Center, which is a great institution on this campus that makes sure that Asian American students have the academic support and resources that they need to succeed.
Rebuttal to Ms. Jones.
All right, sounds good. So I think that Mr. Chu has done a lot of work with, meeting with certain organizations. I think more so we do need to reach out. We do need to find all of these organizations, email them on WorkSync, let them know that we're here and we're here to support them. I have also talked to MedLife. I will be helping to write the resolution that funds them to go to Ecuador that will be presented in our next student government meeting. And also working with my assistant director, Mateo, we've both worked with Fearless Document Alliance, Flores, to work towards getting letters to us to Springfield about the Acevedo bill, and working towards getting awareness about the problems that minority students and undocumented students face. So it's not just the minorities and undocumented students fighting for it, but everybody on campus.
Okay, now we're going to do 2 closing statements. As Ms. Jones started, I will let you start, and we will close the presentation. So, Ms. Jones.
First, let me thank you all for being here. It was great to see all these faces, and obviously I love that you all care about UIC so much to come out to these debates. I would just like to close by saying that regardless of what happens, I still want to be a champion for all students here on campus. I want to make textbooks more affordable. I want to make sure that everybody here is safe and having the best experience that they can on campus. I want to see students grow and develop here regardless. So, Mr. Chu.
I think that, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out as well. It's good to see that democracy really works when everybody participates, and that's why I'm really happy to see you guys all come out in support of what we have to say and how we can go about making changes to our campus moving forward. I think that regardless of the results of this election, I will continue to be a leader and a champion for justice on this campus. It doesn't have to be through USG, although USG is a great way we can do this. But I will continue to be involved in the Asian American Resource Center, other institutions on campus, as well as our multicultural organizations. And this is one way that we can make sure that all students' needs are accounted for, and that we put students first, and together, as a united student body, we can unleash our full large potential.
I'd like to thank you both for participating. You did a wonderful job. So give me a